The Denver Broncos just make a couple of shocking moves. One of these moves, if you had told me at the beginning of the season that we were going to make this move, I would say you were off of your rocker and we were out of the playoffs, but instead we're in the playoffs. You're still on your rocker. We get actual proof that the Denver Broncos truly stole this draft class. Sean Payton has the perfect troll for all the haters, and we get proof that Sean didn't lie about a claim that he made in the offseason that everyone said was bull hockey, and we're going to talk about all that and more in this video. If you're new to the channel, I'm Ben. I'm a diehard Denver Broncos fan. Helps me and the YouTube algorithm out a lot if you would like and subscribe. So the biggest news of the day, really over the past couple days, really the 24 hours, is the Denver Broncos moved on from their third-round draft pick, Greg Dulcich. His first catch in the NFL was a 40-yard touchdown pass against the Chargers. That game against the Jaguars, he tore him up, and I thought like he was the perfect tight end. I was so hyped to see what he could be out of UCLA. He struggled with some injuries, and he started the first 2 games of the season, and then actually he started the first 4 games. He only had catches in the first 2, and then since then he has been a healthy scratch. Tons of rumors that he was trade bait going into the trade deadline, and nobody was biting on it, and Sean Payton moved on from him. So tons of people wondering, what on earth are we doing there? Our tight end room last year was the worst room in all of football, and I thought that Greg Dulcich was the solution to that. I think Sean Payton has a very different solution. We're going to get into that in a second. The final landing place for Greg Dulcich to find out if one man's trash turns into another man's treasure. Greg Dulcich signed with the New York Giants, who have Danny DeVito and Drew Lock as his quarterback. So best of luck to Greg Dulcich. Sean Payton did not see a use for him. So a lot of wonderings out there, like how are you feeling about this? Moving on from a third-round draft pick, I think when you look at George Payton's drafts, he is hitting banger after banger after banger, and I give him all of his props for that. So we got to call it when it isn't landing like that. Is this because he is washed up and cannot stay healthy? He seemed to be healthy for those first couple games. He was tearing it up in the preseason. Is it that he is not healthy, or is it that he is just not a scheme fit for the type of tight end Sean Payton wants? Sean Payton has always thrived with massive tight ends. If you look at Dan Campbell, who played tight end for Sean Payton, we're talking 6'5". We look at Jeremy Shockey, he was 6'6". If you look at Jimmy Graham, a whopping 6'7". So you have Greg Dulcich here rocking 6'4". And that's all well and good if you can block at 6'4", but we know he was a massive liability, and you just saw multiple times where he wasn't even able to block corners on some of those plays. And so I think what Sean Payton is saying when it comes to that tight end position is like, you have to be able to block and catch the ball. If all you can do is catch the ball, I will take any of these other 6'4" dudes on my team who are way better at catching the ball and running routes than you are. And so I think that is truly what it is that you need a player at the tight end position who can both block and run routes. And if not, take the better pass catcher. And we clearly have that with Cortland Sutton being 6'4", Devon Bailey being 6'4", Lil Jordan Humphrey being 6'4", Tim Patrick, before we let him go, 6'4". So Sean Payton's like, hey, I got 2 6'4" guys. If all they can do is run routes and catch, let's go with the guys who are better at that skill set. And so I think it all boils down to that. I would not be surprised if Greg Dulcich does decent, but that's going to be very, very interesting to keep an eye on what happens with that. The more exciting move today that has happened is that the Denver Broncos have indeed returned a man, a myth, a legend, and that is Drew Sanders has been activated back from the physically unable to perform list. You remember way back in May, it was announced that he had torn his Achilles, popped his Achilles an entire month before it was actually released. That's when I knew Sean Payton had like a total lockdown of this team, that news didn't leak, that your highly drafted player who you were planning on being a starter popped his Achilles, and no one finds out about it until Sean wants us to find out about it. And Sean said way back here in May, here's a Broncos Wire USA Today article, way back in May saying, hey, he's going to be coming back. And all of the haters, this was back when it was fun to pile on Sean Payton for all of the drive-by mainstream media, and even some Broncos doubters were like, well, that's it. We won't see Drew Sanders all year. And Sean Payton was adamant about it. Like, hey, the surgery went good. I don't want to say October, and it's not October, but he will be back. And everyone called bull hockey on that. And it's just incredible for me to see all these times Sean Payton has made audacious claims out there and then back them up, because just like he said, Drew Sanders is coming back. And I don't think folks like realize how dangerous Drew Sanders can be coming off of the edge. So we already saw what this edge can be with Bonitto already hitting that 10 sack mark, first one since Bradley Chubb. Just look at this dude. And from all accounts and looking at some Broncos tweets from actual practice, he's even more stacked up top than he was here playing for the Razorbacks. And you were just talking about a incredible speed rusher. I think like a lot like we saw Nick Bonitto early on in his career, all he could really do was get after the pass rusher. I think we're going to see some learning struggles from Drew Sanders in here. But I think when you are now in obvious third and long, if the Broncos end up doing things like we did against the Raiders and we are throwing the ball and going 3 and out and our defense has to be back on the field and Cooper and Bonitto and Ellis, and they're all gassed. And obviously Browning is now off this team, but this is fantastic to now throw this in the mix. I think this is a big reason why we moved on from Baron Browning and we're okay getting a 6th round draft pick from the Arizona Cardinals because Sean Payton knew he was coming back. This is coming back just perfectly in time for the playoffs. And so giving him a couple snaps, maybe even on Monday Night Football, to kind of just get back into football shape is just really, really scary to think of what he can do in the backfield when you pair him with some of the other talent we have. I think it was sick video here that just had some of his highlights, man. And I mean, you're talking 5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, just a hard hitter of the quarterback, has multiple moves and just a stacked guy. And I think this is going to be incredible to have him on there. There's a lot of talk and wondering in Broncos country of, well, now that we have had injuries with Singleton and we lost Josie Jewell, might you actually try him again at inside linebacker, or will he be playing that edge and backing up Bonitto, backing up Cooper, backing up Ellis? Where do the Broncos see him? I think because of just some of the snaps or some of the clips they've released from Broncos practice that have him practicing with that outside linebacker group, that's where I picture him coming back to. But man, if this defense is already one of the best in the league, knowing that Riley Moss is not out for a prolonged period of time, knowing that Zach Allen is back, this is a crazy thing and should be very, very scary for all the teams who have left on our roster to be getting back an elite playmaker and an elite pass rusher. And I just think Vance Joseph is going to make some real hay. This might make it hard for the Broncos to hang on to him for next year because he could be getting head coaching offers. If all of a sudden we have multiple players on this team with 10 sacks, it looks like Jonathan Cooper is in striking distance of that, and that's absolutely fantastic. Just getting more and more evidence that our draft class was wild, you guys. So obviously we already know Bo Nix is in the mix when it comes to rookie of the year, right? And he's probably the best quarterback out of that entire rookie draft class, which is saying something. We know that Jonah Ellis is already performing just a few sacks under the highest drafted rookie in there. And so you're looking like, whoa, we hit on Bo Nix, we hit on Jonah Ellis. Now, here's the other thing. The 33rd team just came out and ranked their best rookie pass catchers, and it's incredible here to see Devon Vele on this list because every other name on this list is someone taken in the first round. So we got Xavier Legette is the last pick of the first round. We obviously know Xavier Worthy and the Chiefs jockeying and trading. We see Odunze. We see all these names drafted really high. We see Brock Bowers drafted right after we drafted Bo Nix. So this is incredible proof that the Broncos stole the draft, that how many of these guys are hitting, and we're going to be talking about them for the next half decade here. We're going to be throwing their name into Pro Bowl conversation just real quick here. Just absolutely incredible news there that we really, really hit on the draft, and getting more advanced analytics here just about how great Bo Nix has truly been. And we see another one here, and anytime you are seeing Bo Nix's name anywhere close to Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, this is why we are saying this team is not just a playoff team, but this is a watch out. Nobody wants to play us in the playoffs because our defense is elite. And now you have a quarterback whose name is being thrown around with Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Patrick Mahomes, and he's doing it as a stinking rookie. And that is why I'm insanely hyped about this team. We got way more to break down as we are approaching the Denver Broncos against the Cleveland Browns. We got a ton to Bo, leave in.